3/4 of the time, really, you ask them, where you got this from? No, my Maulana told me about it. Why? What are you talking about? And this has led to a lot of confusion. No one is saying, do it yourself, please. That's another problem. Let's not even go there. Right? وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ. Carry on. فَمَنْ شَاءَ.
Then whoso will, let him believe, and whoso will, let him disbelieve.
Khalas. That's it. And that's the challenge of this era. Right? You're going to be exposed to so much. The Prophet ﷺ said there'll be 30 to 40 Dajjals that will appear before the Dajjal will appear. The one-eyed ones. What? How many people have you seen with one-eyed? Every time you see a one-eyed person, you think he's going to be a Dajjal. He's a doctor, he's allowed to keep it on. Okay. The Prophet of Allah ﷺ said there'll be 30 or so Dajjals that will appear before Dajjal appears. Allah only knows exactly who those 30 or 4 Dajjals are, whether there are few more to appear before the original one comes. But the Prophet of Allah said Dajjal is one-eyed, and this is something that no one else has known. What does it mean? How many of us live the life? We may have both eyes, but how many of us think like Dajjal and behave like Dajjal and look at life like Dajjal? What is that? With one eye. Seeing with 2 eyes. Big difference, huh? Seeing with 2 eyes. Some of us have tunnel vision. You see with one eye, tunnel vision. We only see one way. We only see one way, tunnel vision. And we don't see with 2 eyes. 2 eyes give you a balance. Close your one eye, you'll see you're missing out, 1/3 of the story. And that's the problem. You and I don't see with 2 eyes anymore. Let alone, we don't look at each other in eye anymore. Right? Okay, but carry on.
Undoubtedly, we have already prepared for the unjust a fire whose walls would surround it. And if they complain for water, then they will be like molten lead that will burn the faces.
نَارًا أَحَاطَ بِهِمْ سُرَادِقُهَا. The word سُرَادِقُهَا, right, according to Hazrat Suradiquha, Sayyidina Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he says, Suradiq is actually 4 thick walls. نَارًا أَحَاطَ بِهِمْ سُرَادِقُهَا. Right, which means 4 thick walls, right? Like foundational pillar walls. There's very thick ones, right? Which means you can't break through it. And in Saradiqa, it also means those 4 in a tent. You get those 4 main poles that hold it together, and the whole thing is set on it there, right? So it makes it absolutely firm. نَارًا أَحَاطَ بِهِمْ سُرَادِقُهَا. So what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is telling, there is no escape from this fire. And the Surah this is what it means. It's not a normal jidar. A normal wall is a jidar. This one here is like, those enforced, and those, what do you call it? There's a nice word for it. Like, like those fortress types of walls, which have been, I can't remember the word right now. Anyway, carry on.
What a bad drink it is, and hell, what an evil place to stay.
Carry on.
Undoubtedly, those who believe and did good deeds, we shall not waste the reward of those whose works are good. For them are gardens for habitation beneath which streams flow. They will be adorned therein with bracelets of gold, and will wear green garments of silk and heavy brocade, leaning therein on raised couches, and the paradise what a good resting place. Okay. Just read that thing again. I will give you a few pointers here in terms of Jannah. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is giving you in ijmali, right? Not an extended discussion on what life in Jannah is all about, right? Understand that life in Jannah is not something metaphorical. It's not symbolic. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is giving you a description of life in Jannah. And what is Allah Subhanahu wa Taala telling you? You'll be given bangles of asawira min dhahabin. Bracelets of gold. In another one, hullu asawira min fidda. Right? Also bracelets of of gold. Right? And then hullu asawira min fidda min dhahabin wa lu'lu. Right? And also silver, gold, and pearls. You'll be wearing silver, gold, and pearls in Jannah. That's the type of clothing you'll be wearing. Now, whether it's for the females or the males, who is it for?
No hair. Really? No, seriously. You'll have no hair in Jannah. Men will be bald. No beard in Jannah either. No eyebrows in Jannah. That's how you're going to be in Jannah. You're going to be the ages of between 33 to 35. No aging. Right? Men will go out on Fridays to the Aswaq al-Jannah, and they will meet each other there. Or people who haven't reached their maqam will be able to meet them there. Like, you go to, without bila tashbih or tamsil, you go to pavilion, so you met one very wealthy person there, the poor person also in pavilion, and when they come No, Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala who said, I make dua that you and I will meet in Jannah, in the marketplaces of Jannah. Jannah will have shopping malls. That's shopper's paradise. There's it. Shopper's paradise. There's it. Really, min aswaq al-Jannah. And you know what will happen? When the men come back from there, it's a long hadith, we'll discuss it in Jannah, don't stress, we'll do it inshallah ta'ala, right? When the men come back from there, they'll have such facials and they look so good. Like they had one of those Pakistani massages or something, there wasn't the Jannati version of it. Right? The wives will say, but you know what happened to you? What happened to you? You've come back even more handsome and more good looking than you were from before. Allahu Akbar. That's life of paradise. Allah has left nothing to your imagination. He's given you vivid descriptions of paradise. Right? And it's interesting, he says that you will not defecate, nor will you urinate in paradise. Right? So someone asked, I remember, I know that I told you guys, someone asked Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu 3 questions. Right? So Sayyidina Umar, they asked Sayyidina Umar, one of the Christian scholars asked Sayyidina Umar. He says, your Quran says that if you do one good, Man ja'a bil hasanati falahu ashru amthaliha. Whosoever does one good, he will get 10 in reward. So he said, give me an earthly proof of this. Umar radiallahu ta'ala read this and said, okay. Second one, he says, no, your Quran says, right, that in Jannah there is a tree called Tuba, Shajarah Tuba, right, whose branches and whose fruits are in the home of every person in paradise. Meaning every one of them has the trees and the branches of the tree of Tuba in his own home. Meaning he can partake and receive the blessing of the Shajarah Tuba. Jibreel Amin alayhi salam said, Shajarah Tuba is so big, so vast, that if you were to travel and fly, you would die of exhaustion before you reach the end. That's Tuba. Right? So he said, give me an earthly example of this thing that you can say in paradise. And then he says, your Quran says that in paradise, right, you will eat and drink and everything, but you will neither defecate nor urinate. Give me an example of this on earth. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala read this, he said, called Sayyidul Mufassirin here, Hibrul Ummah. The Prophet said, Allahumma allimuhu al-kitab. Ya Allah, teach him the book, knowledge of the book, the Quran. So he gave it to Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala, Prophet sallallahu cousin. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala, he said, no problem, done, sort of ways, you call him, there's the answer. So what's the answer? He said the first one, he said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, if you do one good, Allah will give you 10 thereof. You want an earthly example of how this can be possible? He said, walk around there in the afternoon and see your size, 1.7, 1.75 or whatever it is there, and see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has extended your shadow in the afternoon. Alam tara ila rabbika kayfa madda dhil. Have you not seen how your Lord extends your shadow in the afternoon? وَلَوْ شَاءَ لَجَعَلَهُ سَاكِنًا. And if Allah wanted, your shadow would have remained still. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Because how is the shadow created? A shadow is created by virtue of absence of light, right? Because the sun is being directed towards you, right? And because you are an opaque object, sun is not going to go through you, so whatever is that is being cast. But Allah said, وَلَوْ شَاءَ, if Allah wanted, لَجَعَلَهُ سَاكِنًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have made your shadow static. Another discussion for some other day. But so Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala, he says, subhanallah, if Allah can increase one's shadow to practically twice your length, right, just by the angle of the sun there, why is it impossible for Allah to give 10 rewards for one good deed that you do? There's your example. Okay? Then he said the second one. What was the second one? Sajara Tuba. Right? Its leaves and its trees and its branches will be found in every home. He said, subhanallah, haven't you seen the sun? Haven't you seen the sun? Have you not seen how the sun spreads out its light throughout planet Earth, and everyone receives of the light of the sun, and everyone benefits from the light of the sun, including the plants and this and that and everything inside there. So he said, if the sun, which is, by the way, I love this, 432 million kilometers away from planet Earth, right? That's how far it is. 462 million kilometers away from planet Earth, can disperse sun and light and energy and everything to all the inhabitants of planet Earth there. Why is it impossible to conceive that there is a tree in paradise there whose branches and flowers and fruits and so on, they can extend into every home of paradise? Allah has given you an earthly example already. And you and I know that when you look at the sun is right there. The sun is right there. But where is the sun? 632 million kilometers away. You can check it up again, I'm not too sure. 490 million? Check it up, Google it, and Muhammad, Google it and tell me the please, man. How far the moon is, sun is away from the earth? Something like that. But when you look at the sun is right there. I can see the sun, I can feel, and in spite of being so far away, if you stand in the sun for more than 5 minutes, what's going to happen? To you, to observer, it's right here. So Abdullah ibn Abbas said, there's the example. Then he said, now tell me something, what about this here in paradise there, you can eat, drink and everything there, but there's nothing will pass out from your body and whatever it is there. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, don't you see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept the child in the womb of the mother for 9 months. The child eats and the child drinks. And the child defecates and urinates. Does it make the mother napak? No. It doesn't make the mother napak. So he said, if that is possible in the womb of the mother, why is it not possible in paradise? No, that's ilm of Quran. That is true ilm of Quran. Right? Those are the hidden realities of Quran that you and I haven't unlocked that level yet. Inshallah ta'ala. Can you go. We haven't come to the main part yet.
And state to them the position of two men.
Now we come to the main part. Can you.
That to one of them we provided with 2 gardens of grapes and covered them with date palms, and we placed agricultural farming in between. Both gardens brought forth their fruits and gave nothing short in it, and we caused to flow streams amidst both.
Right, okay. This is a long story, but I'm going to start it off now, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving a parable and an example of 2 men. Right? And what did he say? Just read that again, man, slowly. And give the example.
Both gardens brought forth...
No, وَضْرِبْ لَهُ مَثَلَ رَجُلَيْنِ جَعَلْنَا لِأَحَدِهِمَا. Allah gave one of them 2 gardens. Allah gave one of them 2 gardens. Am I right? Carry on.
And gave nothing short.
جنتين من أعناب وحففناهما بنخل وجعلنا بينهما زرعا. Too far.
That's the first one. And state to them the position of 2 men, that to one of them we provided with 2 gardens of grapes and covered them with date palms.
Right. وجعلنا بينهما.
And we placed agricultural farming in between.
Right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving a very, very vivid description. Wallahi, I haven't come across it yet because we're not farmers. We live in cities, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you the example of, and He's teaching us agriculture here. Right? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you that an ideal way to engage in that type of agriculture, I know what it brought to my attention. You get these greenhouses nowadays, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using the example here. He says Allah gave this man 2 gardens of grapes. So I've been to Cape Town, Anwari. I've got to take a wasila first. Right? If you go to Constantia, it has all those grape farms and Stellenbosch and Franschhoek and so on. I just went to Constantia, right? And in this area in Franschhoek, you see these beautiful grape vines, right? And grape vines generally are on, like on those like fences and like those trees, and these things like they twirl all over the place, right? And they go for distances, right? But the reason why Constantia and those areas have a good growth of grapes is because they are surrounded by mountain. So it prevents that type of harsh climate affecting it in one form or the other. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us here in terms of agriculture only, tafseer from agriculture. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you that in order for you to maximize the usage of the land, you must be able to create farms there which are protected with other types of vegetation like tall trees like date palms and so on there, in order to enable those areas to have a minimal amount of optimal amount of sunshine, optimal amount of water, and those plants must not be plants that would overutilize the water that is required for basic vegetation. Now, I'm not an agriculturist, nor am I a farmer. I'm just giving you common sense. If I'm saying something wrong there, if anyone knows any better, I know I've got a couple of gardeners here, please correct me on that matter. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, right, that He protected this garden of grapes with date palms. Right? And what's the word there? وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا. وَحَفَفْنَاهُمَا, actually the word حَفَفْنَاهُمَا actually means that it is so thick, it's so dense, that if you were to walk in the direction of this garden, you will only see palm trees. And if you have to go past it, you won't even realize that inside there is verdant plush, right? Grapevines and this and that and whatever it is. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the main crop of this thing which is surrounded by date palms is what? 2 gardens of, or 2 plots of land with grapevines. Right? But what does He say? And between them, وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمَا زَرْعًا. And in between them is an area for agriculture, which means grain, right? Corn. Corn, wheat, this, that, or whatever it is, right? And then كِلْتَ الْجَنَّتَيْنِ آتَتْ أُحُدُهُمَا.
Both gardens brought forth their fruits.
Right? Which means that because of the way this garden has been designed, right? And obviously a lot of knowledge of hydroponics and this and that has gone into it, therefore maximize the amount of water, optimal heat, temperature, protection from this and that, lots of winds which destroy things and so on there, right? All of that is there, right? All of them are bearing fruits, which means that there is no period in the year wherein there is no return from the land. There is no benefit from the land, right? It doesn't require much crop rotation. It has crop rotation in it, because one part of it has agriculture, right? So it's not sucking up all the nutrients of the land, okay?
And gave nothing short in it. Both gardens brought forth their fruits, and gave nothing short in it. And we caused to flow streams amidst them.
وَكَانَ لَهُ ثَمَرٌ. Now I don't know whether you've been to some of the date farms in Medina. Anyone been to a date farm in Medina? Right? You notice, and I noticed something very unique, and you get it in these farms in Senegal and so on. They had these date palm trees, right? And in between you see like little furrows. Like a drain. A drain, like concrete drain, but made out of sand. And you see these furrows and whatever it is. So I asked him what happened. He says, no, when it rains, then what happens, the water fills up in them. Right? And what happens is that because the root systems of the date palms and so on that are there, right, it helps to just draw the water in. Right? And it makes it easy. That's one. Right? And we cause the water to flow, which means that He could irrigate the land. Now, can you see how much of tafsir is, and I don't know agriculture, imagine if an agriculture guy came here and he tried to explain to you the system that is operating from this parable of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is greenhouse. The greenhouse, I think it's called a greenhouse, not a greenhouse effect, but the greenhouse are the same thing. What is it? They got those big shade, those like white things out there, covered up and so on there. There's enough optimal light coming through and so on there, right? And the atmosphere, I know sometimes the humidity level, in some of these orchard places where they have orchards and so on there. Why? Because those things are giving off oxygen during the day, right? And carbon dioxide at night, right? And it creates an optimal atmosphere for growth. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving the example here, to my knowledge, and I'm not an agriculturist here, right, is that He's giving an example of greenhouse, right? And the greenhouse systems work effectively because the date palms was creating that benefit. And in one area you can grow so many different crops, fruit as well as grain and whatever it is. So Allah is telling you there's no problem growing them side by side. Right? وَكَانَ لَهُ, and then water flows beneath it. Hydroponics is a Quranic system. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. And we have made everything living